Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversations, a series of short and shareable conversation starters for those of us who have or love and support people with a complicated and beautiful brain. Here's your host, Angela Geddes.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kitchen Table Conversations. Welcome back if you've heard before, and welcome if this is your first one that you've tuned into. Thanks so much. Today, we're diving into a topic that's been stirring up some conversations online and across the developmental health community, and that's the growing focus on autism, which is really, really important information to share. However, some of the information, especially that provided by people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is a little bit controversial, and why that spotlight on autism might also be missing something really, really crucial. So let's get one thing really clear, and that is autism is real, and the people who live with it must be appreciating some of the extra discussion, and it is a condition that deserves compassion, support, and resources. Full stop, without a question. And it's not something that we should fear. It's something that we should learn more about, open up our minds and our hearts to see how we can be helpful, and also just do what we can to further understand it. So without question. Now, the question sometimes lies with the fact that RFK Jr. has been a longtime voice in the anti-vaccine community. And while he claims to advocate for children's health, which I really do believe that he thinks he's doing important stuff and what's going to make a difference, but unfortunately, the evidence that he has been promoting has been widely debunked. His earlier messaging about autism being linked to vaccines caused a wave of fear that still lingers today. I mean, I just went to the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and the physicians and the healthcare providers are so frustrated with the precautions they now have to take in order to prevent measles from spreading, because measles is presenting in numbers that we haven't seen before with our young children, and it's highly consequential. So there's been, a lot of negative outcomes that result from false information being shared. But now he's saying that, he's talking about autism being linked to environmental factors after the age of 2. He says that he has research to support this, and we'll learn more in September. But as of now, it's not grounded in any legitimate or peer-reviewed science. That is very controversial, and I feel for individuals and family members who have living experience with autism, because now just to assume that this could have been prevented in a way that we don't even have any idea about, but speaking about it so broadly can be really devastating to families. But here's the thing. Autism is not the only complex neurodevelopmental disorder that's on the rise, or seemingly on the rise. What many of us in the assessment of neurodevelopmental health fields find very frustrating is the glaring omission of another condition that has a known cause, and that is Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder, or FASD. We are seeing more people being diagnosed with autism, yes, but we are also seeing people misdiagnosed with autism when their symptoms are more consistent with prenatal alcohol exposure. And in some cases, these conditions can coexist. I've seen it. And it's legitimate, and it's challenging. Autism and FASD do coexist, but in many cases, FASD is missed entirely. Why is that? Because people don't want to talk about alcohol, because prenatal health is a tough conversation. There are many people who feel that it is paternalistic to tell women what they should be eating, or what they should be drinking, or what they should be consuming in order to promote healthy pregnancies. That's the mother's decision for many. I don't entirely agree, because I believe that every parent wants what's best for their children, and when we know better, we can do better. But there is a stigma, and stigma makes it hard to acknowledge that prenatal exposures, including alcohol, cannabis, and other substances, can have long-term, life-altering effects on the brain and the body development. What RFK is pointing out without realizing it is that there is something interfering with early development, but instead of exploring that thoughtfully, he's fueling conspiracy and some fear. The truth is, we do have evidence-based knowledge about what affects early brain development, and alcohol is pretty much on the top of that list. According to Proof Alliance, there's a really interesting fact sheet that really separates, and makes it very clear the differences and the similarities between autism and FASD. It's posted on my website, so I would encourage you to check it out. But according to Proof Alliance, FASD affects an estimated 1 in 20 in the U.S., and that's higher than the most recent autism prevalence rates, which is reported to be about 1 in 36. Now, when at the time of Proof Alliance's document, which is recent, it was 1 in 20 for FASD, 1 in 59 for autism. So there's no question there is an increase in autism diagnoses. But my question is, there's also a lack of FASD diagnosis. So there is definitely a crossover there. And yet FASD is rarely a part of any public health conversations. Why? Because it's uncomfortable, because it challenges our views on social drinking, because it involves real and legitimate prevention efforts. But we do need to talk about, just like we need to talk about autism, just like we need to invest in early intervention and education for kids who are on either spectrum. We need to do the same for all children. So let's also clear something up. There are some real differences between autism and FASD, and we should understand them. Autism doesn't have a known cause. FASD does. People with autism tend to be more socially reserved, while individuals with FASD are highly social, but struggle with boundaries, impulsivity, and transitions. Both conditions can include sensory sensitivities, speech delays, emotional regulation challenges, and executive functioning difficulties. Both can be impulsive. Both are lifelong. Both deserve recognition, but only one of them can be prevented, as far as what our research is very clear about. So instead of chasing theories about preventing autism, let's talk more openly about preventing prenatal alcohol exposure and the increased number of complex neurodevelopmental disorders that we are seeing, and learning difficulties and school challenges. Let's focus on promoting healthy pregnancies, healthy communities with clear, compassionate messaging. And if we really care about the raise in neurodevelopmental diagnosis, let's ask harder questions. Are we looking at the right diagnosis? Are we doing enough screening for fetal alcohol spectrum disorder? Are we addressing trauma, nutrition, environments, and the reality that many exposures happen before one even confirms a pregnancy? And both parents matter. So prenatal health on the side of both parents matter. So let's keep learning. Let's keep asking questions. Let's keep the discussion going. Let's not further the divide. Let's take this opportunity to use RFK's short-sighted, I will say, research. But let's look at his intention. And I think he really is trying to find an opportunity here to make it so that fewer people are struggling with complex conditions. But let's get the facts straight, and let's look at the most obvious one where we really, really, really can make a difference. So, check out my website for more information around the differences between autism and FASD, opportunities to support healthy pregnancies, and check out my professional development page as well, because I think that if you are someone with living experience with some of these complex symptoms, you might want to reach out to us so that we can maybe support and offer some further clarification around this. And if you are somebody who's working in the helping professions, across social services and healthcare and mental health care. We have a lot of really, really good training opportunities that are advanced training that help us to really do a better job of screening and identifying and putting people on a pathway of more helpful and relevant supports. And really, we're focusing on function. We're focusing on reducing stigma. We're focusing on prevention of both the incidences of and the impact of prenatal alcohol and other substance exposures. So I do encourage you to check it out, and please feel free to share. We have another 6-week training session starting in mid-May. And so if you know of anybody that you think might benefit, we really are focusing on complex neurodevelopmental conditions and FASD for sure, because we do know that in Ontario, 99.5% of the people who should have a diagnosis do not have access to a proper multidisciplinary team assessment. So there are tons of individuals who are misunderstood, misdiagnosed, and not supported in the best way. And once again, when we know better, we can do better. With many thanks, Angela.